As you've probably noticed by now, I don't like doing longer videos, but I think what many people, including myself, dislike even more is splitting up information that should be told together. So this video will be a little longer than my usual ones, but without making this any longer, let's just get right into it. Mags in PSO2 are actually one of the most important features. At first glance, they can seem just like pets, but there's so much more than that. First and foremost, they give you extra stats, and this is very helpful in this game because you need certain stats to be able to equip better weapons and gear. They can even aid you in combat in many different ways, such as using their support abilities and attacking with you. Lastly, they can even summon a huge beast to the field for a limited amount of time to fight beside you. You only get one mag for free. To get an additional mag, you need to buy it from the cash shop. At least on the Japan version, they were very inexpensive, like $3. I'll update this video if it changes on the Western version, but I don't see it going much higher than that. Even if it were to be $5 or $10, I still see that as definitely worth it. Before we go into all the intricacies the mag has to offer, let's take a minute or two to go over which mag is best for each type of class. For the sake of simplicity, let's just assume you're not using the Phantom or Étoile as a subclass. And we'll quickly circle around to if you would be. You would generally do the following for each. Hunter and Fighter would go melee mag, Ranger and Gunner would go ranged mag, and Force and Summoner would go tech mag. Braver, Bouncer, and Phantom have a skill that converts all the dex in their mag into all their offensive stats they need. The only reason you would not use a dex mag for at least Braver and Bouncer is for very niche builds, or for convenience because you want to play other classes but not buy any additional mags. Étoile and Hero, known as the Successor or Scion classes, also have a skill that takes the cumulative offensive stats of your mag and redistributes them to all the offensive stats. This is very similar to the Braver, Bouncer, and Phantom's dex mag, but it's even more flexible. So for those two, you could actually use whatever you'd want, but it would be preferable if you use any pure stat offensive mag. And that's because you'd then be able to play other classes more easily too. For Techer, however, you kind of build your mag depending on the subclass you want to use. Some of the popular ones for Techer are Hunter subclass and Phantom subclass. And for example, if you wanted to go a Hunter subclass on Techer, you'd use a melee mag because your strongest ability is actually a melee one. If you wanted to go Phantom as a subclass for Techer, you'd be more of a caster. But you could still make use of that strong skill I just mentioned because they have their dex mag, which give the melee stat, and this still applies to Phantom even as a subclass. You could still use a melee or tech mag on Techer and still make it work. But just keep in mind what you use as a subclass and go from there. That all being said, you probably see now why Phantom and Étoile as a subclass could affect your mag choice. And that's because even as a subclass, you can use their special mag skills. Lastly, Hero can't even be used as a subclass, and you would not usually use Bravo or Bouncer as a sub either, so that's why they weren't really brought up even when they have their special mag skills. And again, I can't stress enough that if the mags still stay relatively inexpensive, you should really just purchase a few more. It's so worth it, and it's the best quality of life you can really get in this game, or at least one of them. To get your first, and more importantly, free mag, you need to be level 5, and then go to the quest counter and talk to Coffee. And this will be called Mag License. Speaking of levels, each mag has a max level of 200. Each level, they'll get another stat point. Furthermore, at level 30 and 100, your mag can evolve again, and its appearance will be based off of the main stat. Once you have your mag and want to equip it, just open up the mag menu. You can do this by using the appropriate hotkey, or go to the escape menu at the bottom, hover over the first tab on the left, and choose mag. Once there, you can interact with each mag. Simply by clicking on it, you'll have a lot of options, one of which you'll see is equipped. After that, it gets a little more tricky. So let's just go right down the list of options they give you and explain each one of them. The first option would be to give it items, better known as feeding it. Before we go any further, I'm going to be putting a link down in the description that has everything you can feed it and gives you a nice little breakdown of exactly what you would need to do in plain English, and they explain it so well on there that I really suggest that you save this site and use it for reference later on, because what I'm about to tell you is going to be a condensed version of the best way to feed it, not the only way. And with that being said, let's go a little more into detail. When feeding items to mags, some give certain stats, and some give stats while taking away in other areas. In general, to build a pure stat mag, you'd want to put the appropriate weapon type for the one you want. If you wanted an S attack or melee power mag, you'd want to give it melee items. Ranged would be ranged, and for tech, you'd use tech weapons. Then this is where it gets a little interesting. When you put these weapons in, they also give you dex. So this is when you put different types of furniture in to give you a certain stat that you want and take out that dex. For the most optimal way to level a striking or melee mag, you'd give it 2 9-star melee weapons and then 1 8-star. You would then wait until its hunger gauge completely drains down to 0, and then you would give it 3 4-star furniture pieces, and that would take out the dex while giving it a little bit more melee attack. So all of your dex is gone and you're getting melee. For a ranged weapon, it's the same. You use 2 9-stars, and then an 8-star, and then use 3 5-star furniture pieces because they give you ranged attack while taking out dex. Lastly, for tech, you'd use 2 9-star tech weapons, and then an 8-star, and then when its hunger gauge is depleted, you'd go use 3 6-star furniture pieces because they give you tech attack while taking away dex. If you wanted a pure dex mag, you'd just feed it discs, and then that's really it. Something to take away from this is you do not have to use the higher star weapons, they just give you more stats faster. Just remember to use the right furniture piece to take out the appropriate dex while giving you the appropriate stat that you're going for. To get furniture, you can get it from the My Room attendant down in the shop area, downstairs, to the left, right near the recycle shop, under Franca's Cafe. You can also buy some off the market. And it's really just as easy as that. And again, please check the description and save that link because you might understand it now, but it's still a little bit of information to take in and you might forget later. And that was the hard part. But there's actually one more way you can feed your mags, and that ties directly into what we want to talk about next, which is the devices. And you'll find most of those in the shop area, up the stairs on the left, where all the exchange NPCs are. And you'll find most of those on the last 2 NPCs from the left. So the first device we can go over is the food devices. And these can save you a lot of hassle because they basically just put into one single stat. On top of that, they also don't even raise your pet's hunger gauge. So you could put in a bunch of those indefinitely until it's maxed, without needing to wait for the hunger gauge to deplete. The only real downside to this is that it doesn't raise your mag's level as fast, so you'd need to use more, and it would cost a little bit of exchangeables. But besides that, they're an amazing tool. And they make it so you really can't mess up if you use them. Then we have your support devices, and these change or add different support actions in battle, like healing, boosting resources regenerate, and even rezzing you sometimes. Then we have your action devices, and this is basically just the attacks your mag will use in the field to help you fight. Next up, we have your other devices. These ones can change its color, its form, appearance, lower skills, and even reset it if you mess up. Lastly, we have your Photon Blast devices. And with these, you can basically change the summon beasts you get when you use your Photon Blast. And I'll be going over those in just a minute. If we go back to the drop-down menu when interacting with the mag, you'll see that there's an appearance change. And you would use a mag form change pass for that. And you only need to do this after you already use an evolution device on a mag which changes its appearance and you want to change it back into something else. You can get a mag form change pass from the recycle shop, which is downstairs in the shop area near the My Room attendant. This, however, will cost 1 AC scratch item. Luckily, you can buy those off the marketplace for cheap. It's up to you to find the cheapest one though. Moving on and back to the drop-down menu, we have our trigger actions. Here, you can decide the priority of which support abilities you want to go off. If you have 2 of the same one, the one with priority will go first. The ones lower on the list will go off if the ones higher in priority don't trigger. The last thing to note about this is they will only trigger if your pet's hunger gauge is over 0%. And now we save the best for last, the Photon Blasts. And like what we mentioned before, this is when you summon a big beast to fight with you on the field temporarily. And you get these when your mag hits level 30. You use your Photon Blast like any other skill. you simply just put it on your hotbar, otherwise known as your sub-pallets. One condition does have to be met to be able to summon the beast though, and that's when your Photon Blast gauge fills up completely. You can see this on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, and it's a little blue orb. You'll also know it's ready to use when the actual icon on your hotbar lights up too, as it's usually darkened out when it's not ready to be used. Initially, your blast type will be based on the type of mag you have. And currently there's about up to 15 different types of blasts. And this ties back into the Photon Blast devices we were just talking about. You'd use those to change the beast you get and the effect you get, if you don't like what you currently have. And lastly, this is the coolest part. I saved the best for last, and this is when you can chain your mag Photon Blast with other players. When doing so, its damage is higher, and they last in the field for longer. And to do so, you just overlap the rings, kind of like a chain. Normally, you could just quick tap it, and it would summon pretty quickly, and that's that. However, if you hold down the hotkey you assigned it to, it'll keep the ring up around you, and that'll let other players know that you want to chain a blast with them. So just hold it down, and wait till they get next to you, and then drop theirs down, and then you wait and release together at about the same time. Like your goal in any relationship. And with that, I hope you understand mags a little bit better now. This was actually one of the first videos I wanted to do, but I wanted to get my pacing down, and I really wanted to get some good footage of a chain. I think I went over everything pretty well. If you still have any questions, please feel free to ask, and I can always delve into another video breaking it down even more if you guys think I should. But I'll leave you with that, and take care.